Well, something is happening right now in the United States that is impacting many major U.S. cities, specifically due to tourism. But we can all look at one main city. That is the city of Las Vegas. What is happening in Las Vegas and what we are seeing in other cities around the United States as well, this is a problem. Look at this. It says the Strip is emptier this year. Now, you've probably seen on TikTok or on the news, Vegas is dead. Dead. Nobody's there. Tourists are not coming to Vegas. People are not spending their money. U.S. citizens are not flying in. But look at this. Okay? I want to play this clip for you. Look at this and let me know your thoughts, because this is exactly what we're seeing. But the craziest thing is it starts in Vegas. This happened in 2009. This happened before as well. It starts in Vegas and then it spreads. Look at this.
What happens in Vegas could spell trouble for the U.S. economy. The subject of chatter on social media for months now. Empty streets and casinos. One even saying Vegas is actually dead. Another calling it a ghost town. While maybe a bit extreme, the numbers do back up a summer tourism slump.
I want to jump in really quick. I was in Vegas recently, and one of the things I can tell you is that we are seeing a slump. Vegas is not the city it once was. Even last year, it was still booming. Even this year, there are parts of it that do fairly well. Keep in mind, the Las Vegas Raiders, they are bringing in quite a few people. Tourists are coming in to watch football, to some conventions. Businesses are not going to all these expos like they used to. And honestly, Vegas isn't handling all these expos either. They're turning some away because
tourism has always been one of the quiet engines of the American economy. It fills hotels, keeps restaurants busy, supports small businesses, and sustains entire city districts built around visitors. For decades, the United States remained one of the world's most popular travel destinations, drawing millions of tourists each year for business, leisure, education, and culture. But when travel rules change, the effects can ripple far beyond airports and embassies. That ripple turned into a wave after the introduction of a new $250 visa-related fee affecting certain categories of foreign visitors. The policy was intended as a regulatory adjustment, framed as a way to strengthen immigration processing, security screening, and administrative capacity. Officials emphasized that the fee applied only to specific visa categories and was not a blanket charge for all travelers. Still, perception moved faster than clarification. For many potential visitors, the number alone was enough to reconsider their plans. Travel decisions are highly sensitive to cost. Flights, accommodation, insurance, transportation, and daily expenses already make international travel expensive. When an additional fee is introduced at the visa stage, especially one that appears sudden or poorly explained, it can tip the balance. For travelers from countries where currency exchange rates already make U.S. travel costly, the $250 fee felt less like a formality and more like a barrier. Within weeks of the announcement, travel agencies, tour operators, and hospitality workers began noticing changes. Inquiries slowed, group bookings were postponed. Some tour packages were quietly canceled. While no single factor explains shifts in tourism, the timing was difficult to ignore. 10 U.S. cities felt the impact more quickly than others. These cities shared common characteristics. They were heavily dependent on international tourism. Their economies relied on conventions, entertainment districts, cultural attractions, and seasonal visitors. When international travelers hesitate, the effect is immediate and visible. Hotels reported lower occupancy rates during periods that were traditionally strong. Restaurant owners noticed fewer foreign accents in dining rooms. Retail workers saw reduced foot traffic in tourist-heavy neighborhoods. The change was subtle at first, then increasingly difficult to dismiss. Tourists were not protesting in the streets. They were simply choosing not to come. For many potential visitors, the issue was not only the cost, but the message it sent. Travel forums and social media discussions framed the fee as unwelcoming. Some travelers questioned whether the United States was becoming less accessible or less interested in international visitors. Others compared costs with alternative destinations that offered easier entry and lower fees. The comparison mattered. Countries across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East have invested heavily in streamlining visas, reducing friction, and marketing themselves as open destinations. When travelers weigh options, even small differences can matter. A family deciding between New York and another global city may choose the path of least resistance. In cities like New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Las Vegas, San Francisco, Orlando, Chicago, Honolulu, Boston, and Seattle, tourism is not peripheral. It is foundational. New York's economy depends heavily on international visitors who spend more on average than domestic travelers. Broadway theaters, luxury retail, museums, and hotels all rely on that spending. A modest dip in international arrivals can translate into millions in lost revenue. Las Vegas thrives on global conventions and entertainment tourism. Orlando depends on families traveling long distances for theme parks. Miami serves as a gateway for Latin American and European visitors. Honolulu's economy is deeply tied to international flights across the Pacific. In each of these cities, tourism supports not only high-profile attractions but also countless small businesses. Taxi drivers, cleaners, food suppliers, tour guides, and event staff all feel the effects when visitor numbers decline. The fee did not affect all travelers equally. Business travelers often absorbed the cost as part of corporate expenses. Wealthier tourists adjusted their budgets. But budget-conscious travelers, students, and families were far more sensitive. For them, $250 was not symbolic, it was decisive. Travel agencies reported a pattern. Some clients asked whether the fee could be avoided. Others requested alternative destinations. Many simply disappeared from inquiry lists. The effect extended beyond leisure travel. International conferences and academic events began factoring visa costs into attendance projections. Organizers worried that higher entry costs could reduce participation, especially from developing countries. This raised concerns about America's role as a global hub for exchange and collaboration. Local governments took notice. City tourism boards began tracking declines in international arrivals. Marketing campaigns were adjusted to focus more heavily on domestic tourism, but domestic travelers do not fully replace international spending. International tourists tend to stay longer and spend more per day. Economists cautioned against overreacting. Tourism fluctuates for many reasons, including exchange rates, global economic conditions, airline capacity, and geopolitical events. Isolating the impact of a single fee is difficult. Still, timing matters, and businesses on the ground felt the change immediately. The word chaos appeared in headlines, not because cities were collapsing, but because the disruption was uneven and unpredictable. Some neighborhoods remained busy, others experienced sharp declines. Hotels in convention districts struggled while suburban properties remained stable. The inconsistency made planning difficult. For workers, uncertainty is stressful. Hospitality jobs are often hourly and seasonal. Reduced bookings mean fewer shifts, overtime disappears. Temporary layoffs become more common. These workers are among the most vulnerable to sudden changes in demand. In the political arena, debate intensified. Supporters of the fee argued that visa processing requires resources. Background checks, staffing, infrastructure, and security all cost money. They maintained that travelers benefiting from the system should contribute to its upkeep. Critics countered that tourism itself generates far more revenue than the fee could ever recover. They argued that discouraging visitors is economically counterproductive and risks damaging America's image as an open destination. State and city officials, whose budgets depend on tourism taxes, quietly expressed concern. Sales taxes, hotel occupancy taxes, and airport revenues all declined when visitor numbers dipped. These funds support public services, infrastructure, and cultural institutions. The international response was telling. Travel advisories were updated to include information about the fee. Media coverage abroad framed it as another example of tightening entry conditions. While accurate explanations existed, perception again moved faster than nuance. Some travelers interpreted the fee as a signal that they were no longer welcome. Whether that interpretation was fair mattered less than the fact that it influenced behavior. The United States has long balanced openness with security. Visa policies reflect that balance. But even small adjustments can have outsized effects when they intersect with cost, perception, and global competition. Airlines notice changes as well. International routes depend on sustained demand. When bookings soften, airlines reduce capacity or delay expansions. This creates a feedback loop. Fewer flights make destinations less accessible, further reducing demand. Airport authorities in several major hubs reported slower growth in international passenger traffic. Retail concessions inside terminals felt the decline. Duty-free shops rely almost entirely on international travelers. The tourism slowdown also affected cultural exchange. Museums, galleries, festivals, and live performances thrive on diverse audiences. Reduced international attendance changes the atmosphere of these spaces and, in some cases, their financial viability. The broader question became unavoidable: how much friction is too much? In a world where travelers have many choices, every barrier matters. Visas, fees, wait times, and uncertainty all influence decisions. The $250 fee, while not universally applied, became a focal point for broader concerns about accessibility. Federal officials emphasized that the policy was under review and subject to adjustment. Clarifications were issued. Outreach efforts attempted to correct misconceptions. But once plans are canceled, they are not easily restored. The episode underscored how interconnected travel, policy, and local economies truly are. A decision made at the federal level reverberated through city streets, hotel lobbies, and small businesses thousands of miles away. The effects were not catastrophic, but they were real. Gradually, some stability returned. Travelers adjusted expectations. Businesses adapted marketing strategies. Domestic tourism partially offset losses, but the experience left a mark. Cities learned how quickly global demand can shift. Policymakers saw how sensitive tourism is to perception. And travelers were reminded that access is never guaranteed. The story of the $250 visa fee is not one of collapse, but of caution. Tourism is resilient, but it is also fragile. It depends on trust, openness, and ease. When those elements are disrupted, even slightly, the impact spreads. For the 10 cities most affected, the lesson was clear. Their fortunes are tied not only to attractions and infrastructure, but to policies made far beyond city limits. The streets did not empty completely. Hotels did not close en masse, but the warning signs were visible. Thanks for watching Alert 360 News, where real stories meet real impact. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, smash that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the fastest growing news community on YouTube.